Hey guys, so today I think is day 6, and I'm taking a little bit of a break before I head in for my shift. So we're doing a new program with Red Cross, which has never been done before, where we take our IRV, which is our emergency response vehicle, and taking it over to the shelters and handing out, for example, N95 masks, cases of water, things like that. Typically we run the shelters, so in a normal situation our Red Cross division has all of that stuff in the shelter and we're not having to use an emergency response vehicle. And I kind of was thinking outside the box. Of course, they give me this job and I am not necessarily completely a follower and just doing what's inside the lines. And so in the first shelter that we were in, it wasn't a shelter, it was actually a campground where all of the residents were so well prepared that they didn't need anything from us. And I thought that was so amazing and so incredible. And I wanted to do a class, and I felt like I needed them to teach me a little bit about preparedness. So I felt like it would be a good gathering. It would give them some confidence about what they had done and how impressed I was with what they had done. And there were people in the campground that weren't as prepared as some of the other ones were, so I thought that the sharing part would be great. So we kind of spun off a preparedness class that we did with them, or that they did with us, and it came out amazing. If you want to see the video, just go to my videos thing and you can kind of see a video of what we did in the class. We only contacted about 15 trailers, and that was the turnout that we had from about 12 to 15 trailers. We gave door prizes, things like that. And so it was a really good experience. It was a great experience for me because I learned so much, not just about preparedness for wildfires, but just preparedness in general for any kind of emergency that makes you leave your home. And I will try and share that to one of my videos and do one on specifically all of the things that they did that kept them, basically they didn't need anything from anybody. They were completely prepared. Today we're doing 3 sessions, and the first one is on goals and objectives, or goals and obstacles. And it's a class, or a first step that I did with my homeless population at the Arnold Palmer shelter in Panama City Beach after a hurricane, and trying to get all of these homeless people jobs and back into housing, which we did such a great job that it was actually a big financial hit for us, because we were able to dangle some money at the end of that rainbow if they got a job, and we could provide housing for them for the short term until their paycheck kicked in. So gonna do that today with this shelter. It's a midtown shelter, so we've got some of that population. And the gist of objectives and goals, or obstacles and goals, is to find out what your goals are and then break those goals down into really small pieces and figure out what the obstacle is in getting that. And then, so let's say that our house burned down, and the goal is to be in housing. So then we say, okay, what's blocking you from getting a house? Well, I have no money. Well, do I have a job? Yes, I've got a job, but I've got to still pay the old mortgage. So contacting mortgage company, contacting insurance company, contacting FEMA, some of those steps that kind of get you past that obstacle. How do I resolve a mortgage on a house that's no longer standing? So some of those things, and kind of problem solving. So that's the first group. Second group is resources group. A lot of people don't know what resources are available to them in their cities and towns. We have an app called Aunt Bertha, and Aunt Bertha is basically an app where you install it on your phone. It's free. You just put in your zip code and it pulls up all of your community resources, everything from people that provide help with rent, people that provide clothing, food pantries, all kinds of things, training. Your community college is a huge land, it's like a stockpile of information Community colleges usually have a job outreach program where companies pay to train you to be like a welder or like a specifically trained trade. And they're usually either no cost or very low cost. The ones in Fredericksburg, I believe, are $250. It's usually a couple of months class to a year class, and you're into a job that's paying $40,000, $50,000 a year at the end of that program. And it's a huge benefit for everybody. I would totally be behind everybody, putting together a bus that goes into homeless shelters and busing them to the colleges and things like that, because it really does get you from a homeless shelter into a hugely high paying job rather quickly. So that's kind of one of those resource tips that we're going to go over today. The third group that we're going to do is preparedness. Now, this group that we're working with today is a little less prepared than the group that we had previously. And so we're going to be working on like the basics, making sure that you have your important papers somewhere safe. Do you have a go bag under your bed? Everybody should have a go bag under their bed, and that goes for anybody living in any zone whatsoever. That contains, comfortable clothes, flip-flops, a flash drive that has videos of everything that's in your house. On that flash drive, making sure that you have copies of your bills back and front, so that you have addresses, account numbers, things like that. It should have a photograph of your credit cards back and front. All of those things should be in that little flash drive. A water purifier, a small tent, things like that you can get out of your house rather quickly, a sleeping bag in your car all the time. Rather quickly, and have a place to stay. You have a shelter. You have a plan. Making a plan to meet somewhere with your relatives in case cell phones go down and you can't have contact, to say, okay, if in case there's an emergency and we all get separated, we're going to meet at this place, and everybody's going to stay there until everybody's there. On our property at my dad's house, we have a campground. And that's kind of our go-to place. If there were ever an emergency, if a worldwide emergency, a U.S. emergency, a state emergency, things like that, and we were somehow not able to communicate with each other, then we have a place to go. We know that we're going to all meet there, and that's kind of the the fire under your britches to get you to a place so that you know where to go and what to do next. So that's the third class that we're going to go over today. I would encourage all of you to make a plan, to on a regular basis go over goals and obstacles for whatever it is that you have in your life, and break those obstacles down into teeny tiny pieces so that every day you're accomplishing something on your obstacle list, so that eventually you're over that hurdle and your goal is achieved. And then on the resources, please put the Aunt Bertha on your phone. You may not need it ever, but maybe a friend needs it. Maybe you come into contact with a homeless person. It's one thing to feed a person. It's another thing to teach a person to fish. If you feed a person, you're going to be feeding that person for a really long time. If you teach that person to fish, you will have to spend maybe 15 minutes with that person, and that person is now self-sufficient and is no longer needing anything from anybody. And our goal is not to make people dependent on us. In fact, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to teach people not to be dependent on the system, not to be dependent on handouts and charity. Yes, handouts and charity is there, and it's a necessary part of our lives and our country, but it should be a short-term thing for each person. It is a literally just something to get over a small hurdle, and if you're not teaching at the same time that you're handing out something, you're not doing it right. And I know that there are a lot of people that think that their job is just to hand out food or just to hand out clothing. But we literally put so many homeless people in jobs and houses in Panama City Beach, and it took less than 15 minutes each morning with each of those people, and we're talking more than 100 people. So and that's people that other people had given up on, that didn't believe that could ever learn how to fish. So literally it takes less time, way less time, and if you're teaching at the same time that you're providing, you've done a service not just to your organization, not just to your state, not just to your community, but to the world in general. Teaching people to fish and teaching them to be reliant on themselves, it may not keep you in a job, but your job can change to a job that's a little more, I wouldn't say, because it is very rewarding to help someone, but your job can change to something that is more supporting a community that's uplifted already. So the goal is to uplift, and so that's what we're going to do today. So that's my agenda for the day, and I hope that each of you can take some of these tips and make them into a pattern of living for yourself. So have a great day.